Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about being a beginner and keeping yourself motivated. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Fredrik, how do I as a beginner get out of tutorial purgatory but at the same time not go over on the deep end and become unmotivated? And this is a great question. The short answer is that you need to identify if you have reached the repetition phase of where you are right now, and then you need to be emotionally okay with that everything you build is going to be absolute shit. Well, this is a question that I have gotten a few times, but more people ask because the question hasn't been. Well, I'm assuming that since people keep on asking, Google has failed them in some fashion because the search engine hasn't found a good answer to this thing. So I'm going to add another answer to this. So basically what I argue is that the first thing that you should ask yourself is, have you reached the end of what just watching tutorials aimlessly is going to give you? Because that's usually how it starts for most people. Most people will either have some specific project they want to build, or they just say that, hey, you know what, this programming thing is kind of cool, so I just want to figure out how it all works. And then they start watching a bunch of tutorials, and that's great, and then they start learning some concepts and they get more invested into it, and they do some practicing on their own, and before you know it, they know how to make a simple application or build some simple stuff. And some people just keep on watching without actually practicing to code, which is not a great thing, but that's also a way to do it, where you pretty much just keep on watching videos until you feel like you get to this point, as this person was saying, tutorial purgatory. And when you get to that point, you really need to think about this thing. And the way that you know that you're in this place without, of course, emotionally feeling that you're getting bored is that you see a repetition isn't something. So what I usually say is that whenever you're learning something new, or you're trying to master a new skill or anything like that, it is a linear progression of events, and new things are happening all the time, and that is a line that just keeps on going. And at some point you will start to loop. In other words, you will progress to a point where you repeat something with just naturally. You are asked to build the same thing, you're watching a tutorial video that covers the same thing that you saw in another one, and then you start looping a little bit, and then you continue, and you loop a little bit, and then you continue, you loop a little bit, and continue. And you know that you have reached the end of this way of learning when you're looping more than you're actually progressing. When you're actually learning, you're not learning as many new things as you are just repeating things that you've already seen, even though the video is different and the content creator is different, right? So when you get to that point, you need to ask yourself that $1 million question, and that is, what do I want to build? That is the most important question that you can answer for yourself when you want to progress from a beginner level to where you're basically just learning how to do basic things in programming, to something where you're actually building things for real. And when you know what it is that you want to build, you simply need to embrace this idea. And it is, some people, they procrastinate and they try to avoid starting because they're afraid of this, but you need to accept this. The things that you build are going to suck. They're gonna suck bad. They're gonna be absolutely horrible. And if you continue, or maybe say in 10 years into the future, if you still, because I actually did this, I kept every single project, even from the beginning stages of my career, because when I look back, I kind of cringe at how horrible the code that I wrote in those days, how horrible it was. And that keeps me humble. That, if I ever feel like, oh shit, I'm really getting cool, really good at this, and I'm so great and everybody else is shit, I just remember that, yeah, well, things weren't always so great. Staying humble. And you should get to a point where you are okay with that. You need to be okay with feeling stupid or feeling like you don't understand and things of this nature, because the sad truth, or like the truth of the matter, is that just as with anything that is worth having, persistence is the key to it. You need to build things, try to build things, and then look things up. In the beginning it's going to be really hard. You're going to have to look up quite a lot of stuff, but the beautiful part about having this project that you want to build, or this thing that you want to try to build, even if it's like the easiest thing in the world or it's the most complicated thing in the world, doesn't really matter. You just need to be genuinely interested in building that thing, because when you have that, you have a goal. Now all of a sudden it's not just aimless watching tutorials. Now you need to do specific things in order to bring that project vision that you have into reality. So now you will start trying to build something, and then you will have a question, and you will realize that, I don't really know how to do this. Okay, maybe there's a tutorial on how to do this specific thing, and then you learn how to do that thing, and then the next problem comes along, and then you do the same thing, and then you repeat that over and over and over, until a point such as where you either are done and you feel fairly good about yourself. Also that you won't feel so good about yourself for the first few projects, or like quite a lot of projects depending on, circumstances, but you might even give up, and that's okay. It is okay to just say that, hey, I kind of am getting bored with building this thing now. I've been trying to build this for a few weeks now, or days or whatever, and I don't really find this all that interesting anymore. But this other thing here seems probably kind of cool. Then just throw that fucking thing away. It has no value. You're just using it as a delivery system to get better at coding, and that can happen regardless of if you finish the project or not. Throw it away. Start on the next thing. Start again. Because every time, even if you don't finish the project, you will learn something new from just the process of trying to build something that is real. That's the key thing. So what I want you to take away from this is that the way to stay motivated without feeling like you're killing yourself as a beginner, and at the same time get out of this tutorial purgatory, as some people like to call it, is to identify if you have reached the end of the linear progression and you're mostly just looping on the same thing over and over and over, because at some point you're going to get there where every tutorial that you watch kind of teaches you the same thing. When you get to that point, you need to ask yourself, what is it that I actually want to use these coding skills that I have acquired for? What do I want to build? And when you have an answer to that question, start building it. Don't be afraid. Know for a fact that it's gonna suck. It's like learning a new language. Anybody who learns a second or third language or something like that, I mean, you sound like a complete idiot and you feel like a complete idiot in the beginning, especially if you're talking to a native speaker. But if you remember that when you were a kid, that is a natural part of the learning process. You have to suck in the beginning to get good. And persistence is key. Persistence is key here. If you persist and you continue working and you just keep on trying to build something, and then you fail, and then you build the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, you will acquire, even from just the process of trying. Even if you throw away the project because you got bored and you start on the next thing, you will master programming. Just keep at it. Have a great day.